What is up, Cradix? And this video we'll be talking about this week's Money Event Week as well as the property and vehicle discounts. This event week is for January 16th through January 22nd, 2025. Now, sadly, there's no new drip feed vehicles added with this event week, which is a real shame. It seems Rockstar really wants to drag out the drip feed this time around in comparison to the last DLC. Remember that we still have 2 cars left and 3 aircraft for the drip feed of this DLC. Anyways, the current price rate for this week is the Vapid Flash GT. It's primarily based on the 2017 Ford Fiesta RSW RC mixed with the Ford Focus RS RX, and has a normal price of just under 1.7 million. To get it for free this week, you have to get top 3 in an LS Car Made Series race for 4 days in a row this week. In regards to performance, in the sports class, it is a mid-tier performing vehicle in the class, and that's mainly due to the fact that it unfortunately has the slow handling flags, which makes it go slow over bumps. However, even with those slow handling flags, it's still very quick in rally style off-road sport races and extremely grippy, so there's that. And the customization is pretty decent as well. Continuing to the test ride vehicles, we have the Akuma, the Blade, and the original Comet, and all 3 of these are move website vehicles. And for current gen console users, we have the Sterling GT as HSW test ride vehicle for this week. Continuing to the casino podium vehicle, we have the Sterling GT as well, which is interesting. And to clarify, the Sterling GT used to be a remove website car, but it was added back to the website with the Agents of Sabotage DLC. Anyway, it's primarily based on the Mercedes 300 SL, and has a normal price of just under $1 million. In regards to performance, in the sports classics class, it is a top 10 performing car in the class for most tracks, and that's mainly due to its sports car-like handling. However, with HSW, it makes it one of the fastest cars in that class alongside the HSW Turismo Classic, although the Sterling GT is a lot easier to drive. Plus, the exhaust on the customization is just really good. One of my favorite classic cars in the game, and one that I highly recommend attempting to own this week if you don't already own it. In terms of the dealership cars this week, in luxury autos we have the Dominator GT and the Illusion. Continuing to Simeons, we have the Esky, the Hustler, the Wolfsbane, the Baller LE, and the Hexer, and all of these except the Baller LE are move website vehicles. Continuing to discounts, starting off with the property discounts, we have 30% off the garage properties from the Dynasty 8 website, so definitely a great way to get some extra storage if you're on a budget. Continuing to vehicle discounts, starting off the test ride, we have 50% off the Comet, which again is our move website car. This one's on the sports class and is a mid-tier performing car in that class. It has good acceleration and top speed, however its handling makes it a bit sketchy to drive at times. But remember that the regular Comet is needed if you want to upgrade it to the Comet Retro, so I highly recommend picking it up this week if you've been wanting to get a Comet Retro. Next up in the test ride, we have 50% off the Vapid Blade, again our move website car. This one's in the muscle car class and is a top 25 performing car in the class. It's got great acceleration and the handling is pretty good, although it does have a lot of understeer. Regardless, I still think it's a great car overall, especially at this price. Next up onto Simeons, we have 50% off the Hustler, again our move website vehicle. This was in the muscle car class and is a mid-tier performing car in the class, and that's mainly due to its poor handling and brakes. It has fantastic acceleration and good top speed, however, honestly a great car for drag racing, but not so much for actual tracks with turns. Now its customization is great, and the look of the car is just awesome with its 1930s styling. Not many cars in the game from this era. I personally love it, and honestly I think it's a steal at this price. Moving on to the Legendary Motorsport website, we have 30% off the Omnis EGT. So this one's in the sports class and is a below average performing car in the class, and that's mainly due to its poor acceleration and top speed. I'm not sure why Rockstar decided to give it worse acceleration than the Neon and the Raiden, but anyway, the customization is pretty decent and it does offer Armani tech and armor, so there's that at least. Next up, we have 50% off the Baller LE. So this one's in the SUVs class and is a mid-tier performing vehicle in that class due to its lack in speed, and it doesn't really offer any visual customization. Honestly, I don't see much of a reason in owning this one, especially since the Baller ST and Baller STD exists, but the Baller ST does have a longer wheelbase in this one, so I guess that might be the only reason for the aesthetic difference. Moving on to the San Andreas website, we have 30% off the Click Wagon. So this one's in the muscle car class and is one of the slower cars in that class, which is to be expected for a car like this. It's more of a cruiser. I personally really like the Click Wagon and the customization it offers. It's sort of a forgotten car, which is a real shame. Next up, we have 30% off the Sultan RS Classic. This one's in the sports class and is a top 25 performing car in the class. However, for tuner races, it's one of the top 3 fastest cars for most tracks alongside the Calico GTF and the Vector. And the customization is great as well, being a tuner's DLC car. Highly recommend getting this one this week if you don't already own it. It's a great investment for those prize right challenges every week. Next up, we have 30% off the Drift Yosemite. So this one's in the muscle car class and is a top 15 performing vehicle in the class, which is very impressive, and it does offer drift tuning, which makes it a ton of fun to drive. Continuing, we have 30% off the Drift Tampa. So this one's in the muscle car class and is one of the slowest cars in that class for track performance. However, it thankfully does offer the drift tuning option to at least give it an actual fun use. Moving along, we have 30% off the Brigham, of course the Ghostbusters car. It's in the muscle car class and isn't very fast as you might imagine, but the customization is great, the stock horn, etc. I think it's a fun one to mess around with if you're a Ghostbusters fan. And lastly, for this website, we have 30% off the Patriot Mil-Spec. So this one's in the off-roads class and is a below average performing vehicle in the class for track performance. However, its customization is fantastic. It has a unique interior which is super detailed, and the Amani tech on top of that. Just a really good vehicle from Rockstar that was truly made with a lot of effort. And lastly, on Toledo's Travels website, we have 30% off the Nimbus Jet. It's a Pegasus aircraft that only seats 8 players, so I don't really see a reason in owning it personally. Moving along to the gun van, with the follow weapons available this week and 40% off the minigun. For double money, we have double money NRP on the adversary mode overtime rumble, which is great. This one's a ton of fun to do with friends. And lastly, we have double money NRP on payphone hits from Franklin. Now, for those of you who don't know, the max payout of payphone hits used to be 85,000. However, it was nerfed about a year ago to only 45,000. However, the cooldown was reduced from 48 minutes to only 10 minutes with that sort of nerf. So with the double money this week, you can get 90,000 every 15-ish minutes if you include the time it takes to complete the task. Honestly, I think that's a pretty good amount of money, especially if you do some VIP work in between each one. However, remember that you do need to own an agency property in order to do these payphone hits. For the weekly challenge, if you complete 3 FIB file finales, you'll get 100k. For the priority file in the Garment Factory of this week, it's going to be the Brute Force file. And also to mention, if you complete the Black Box file this week, you'll be awarded the Merryweather hoodie. Continuing to the weekly vehicle robberies from the Salvage Yard business, again, these only change once per event week. We have the Gangbang robbery with the Eudora, the McTony robbery with the Schlagen GT, and lastly the Podium robbery with the Growler, and none of these are claimable this week. And lastly, for the time trials, this week's normal time trial is Radin Canyon. I recommend a quick bike for this one. For the premium race, we have the Supercar Race Senora Freeway. I highly recommend the Vest 8, Emirates, or Krieger for this race. And if you're on current gen, I highly recommend using the HSW Divest 8 or the HSW Weaponized Ignis. And lastly, for current gen console users, the HSW Time Trial is terminal. As always, the HSW Hakachi Dragon are the best one for these. In terms of my vehicle discount pick of the week, I'm going to have to go with the Sultan RS Classic. It's a very good investment to get you those prize right cars every week. And it's just a great car in general, having great performance both on and off road, and great customization on top of that. Anyways guys, overall this event week I would say is pretty average. No new drip feed content this week, which is a bit unfortunate, and the double money is pretty decent, although only 2 opportunities there for bonus money. However, the quantity of vehicle discounts is nice, and we do have a property discount this week, so I'm going to give this week a solid 6 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Thanks again for watching, hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.